Well, I think it's what the problems we're facing and what led to them is a very long story. And we can go right back to perhaps when beyond to the ancient time, when people were hunter-gatherers, where they lived lightly on the land, and they were very much an intimate part of the rest of nature. And with the settlement, with the beginning of agriculture, the new way of life began, where people started to farm, and I think for a few thousand years that was a period not necessarily of a decline, as some have argued, but in fact an improvement, where because people lived, according to the archaeological evidence, people lived in a peaceful and cooperative and egalitarian way. You can see that none of the where they sites where they lived, similar, the communal graves, similar. They had similar housing, and the monuments, the larger social monuments that began to build were undefended. So I think for about 2,000 years in the Neolithic age, the late Stone Age, particularly in Europe, which I know about, people lived in an anarchy. There was no government, and there was no government or state, and there was no imposed authority. And they had the leisure to study the heavens, and so they build these great stones to the sky, various monuments like Stonehenge and so on. The beginning of the Bronze Age, that people with weapons, well, in Europe I'm talking about now, came from the east, and from then on we can see a beginning of the foundation of a hierarchy in society, that people ever since have been fighting, and you have chiefs emerging, private property. I think Rousseau made a great point in his Origins of the Inequality of Mankind, where he said that he linked up people were free in a state of nature, but when the first person to put up a fence and persuade people to respect it was the beginning of the downfall of humanity. So there is that sense of people acquiring an excess of property for themselves, an excess of wealth for themselves, was the beginning, I think, of a problem, because with that it evolved hierarchy and then rulers. So that's one important aspect of it. So and that obviously emerged into capitalism. And on the other side is the forms of government and the state. I mean, in the first so-called civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt and Greece and in Rome, they were largely empires. So the nation-state really only came into being in Europe in about the 15th century. You can see it emerging then, and where you do have a very well-organized society and governments telling people what to do. And so I think that the combination of property and private property and the state and government was an important cause of our political problems, where although people are no longer able to run their own affairs and to control their own lives. So I think that's one important aspect. And the other important problem we have obviously is on the ecological side, environmental side, which is partly due to our growing numbers, but also to our very exploitative way of living on the earth, where we use all the resources unnecessary to live, particularly in the exploitation of animals and of the land. We're farming it in a very, very destructive way. So you have this political and ecological problem today. And that's, I mean, an incredibly thumbnail sketch of how it's come about, but I think that we can see those things as being